Deep within the Appalachian foothills, nestled among towering pines and dense mist, lay the quiet town of Whispering Pines, Tennessee. Life here flowed slow as molasses, and everyone knew everyone else's stories, especially their tragedies. Among them, 14-year-old Tyler Bennett carried the heaviest burden. Ever since his mother passed away in a devastating storm 2 years ago, Tyler hadn't spoken a single word. Not to his father, not to his teachers, not even to his best friend. Silence had become his sanctuary. Tyler's father, Aaron Bennett, a stoic man who once served as the town's fire chief, now ran the local wildlife rehabilitation center. He worked tirelessly, channeling his grief into saving injured animals. But no matter how many creatures Aaron rescued, he felt he had failed his son. Everything changed one misty morning when Tyler walked alone along the fence bordering their property. His eyes caught a glint of movement in the fog-shrouded woods beyond. Curious yet cautious, Tyler approached the fence. A massive gray wolf stood staring at him, amber eyes piercing through the haze. Tyler's breath hitched. Wolves had not been seen in this region for decades, but this wolf was different, majestic yet injured. Favoring a wounded paw, blood soaking its fur, the wolf slowly limped closer, eyes locked with Tyler's. Instinctively, Tyler reached out, palm up. A silent, fragile trust formed as the wolf gently nudged Tyler's hand. In that instant, Tyler felt a profound connection, a kinship forged in mutual loss and pain. Tyler secretly tended to the wolf daily, naming him Orion. Each morning he brought medicine stolen discreetly from his father's center, bandaging Orion's wounds, providing fresh water and food. With each interaction, the bond deepened. Tyler found his voice again, softly whispering words only Orion could hear. The wolf listened intently, as if understanding every word. Unbeknownst to Tyler, Aaron had noticed supplies going missing. Concerned, he quietly observed his son. One foggy morning, Aaron followed Tyler into the woods and witnessed the remarkable scene. Tyler confidently bandaging Orion's leg while speaking gently to him. Aaron's eyes filled with tears, realizing his silent son had found solace and strength in this wild creature. Days turned into weeks, and Orion's presence became known in the small town. Fear and fascination mingled in whispers. Soon whispers turned louder, spurred by local rancher Jed Matthews, who blamed recent livestock losses on Orion, fueling a storm of panic among townsfolk. Aaron desperately tried to convince the town council of Orion's innocence, but fear had already rooted deeply. One evening, the town meeting erupted in anger. Jed Matthews' voice rang out, "That wolf is dangerous. It's only a matter of time before he hurts someone. We need to act now." The council, pressured by frightened residents, reluctantly decided Orion must be captured and relocated far from Whispering Pines. That night, heartbroken, Tyler ran into the woods to warn Orion. His voice echoed through the pines louder and clearer than ever before. Orion, sensing urgency, stood protectively beside him as the sound of approaching footsteps shattered the quiet. Aaron, lantern in hand, emerged from the shadows. "Tyler," Aaron said gently, "we have to protect him. Together." Tyler looked up at his father, a mix of fear and resolve in his eyes. "How?" "They're not going to listen. They're coming for him." Aaron crouched down beside his son, placing a firm hand on his shoulder. "We'll show them who he really is. We'll prove he's not a monster, but we have to act fast." The two of them hurried back to the house where Aaron spread out a large topographic map of the surrounding forest. Together they marked paths, planned escape routes, and identified safe zones where Orion could stay undetected. Tyler scribbled notes furiously, detailing Orion's behavior patterns, his routines, and his hiding spots. "We'll need supplies, food, medical kits, gear," Aaron muttered, already making a checklist, "and someone to help us keep the town at bay." That someone turned out to be Dr. Mary Ann Keller, the town's wildlife biologist and an old friend of Aaron's. When they explained the situation, she agreed to help. "You're asking a lot," she said, "but that wolf, he brought your son back. I'll do what I can." The next few days were a whirlwind. Tyler and Aaron worked in shifts, one staying with Orion, while the other coordinated with Dr. Keller to build a case for the wolf's protection. They documented footage of Orion's interactions with Tyler, recorded his obedience, his gentleness, his clear intelligence. Tyler even showed him responding to hand signals, sitting patiently, and refusing food unless it was given on command. Meanwhile, rumors and tempers grew. Jed Matthews patrolled the outskirts with his rifle slung over his shoulder, threatening to take matters into his own hands. Flyers went up across town. "Protect our livestock. Remove the wolf." While Tyler posted anonymous counterflyers. "Wolves aren't the enemy. Fear is." Late one evening, Tyler and Aaron sat by a fire deep in the woods. Orion curled nearby, his side rising and falling in slow rhythm. Tyler stared into the flames. "What if we can't convince them?" Aaron exhaled slowly. "Then we make sure he's safe, no matter what it takes, even if that means letting him go." Tyler's throat tightened. The thought of saying goodbye was unbearable. He glanced at Orion, who lifted his head and nudged Tyler's arm gently. "I won't let them take him," Tyler whispered. "He's part of us now." The fire cracked softly between them, and in that moment, surrounded by forest and flame, a vow was made. Not just to protect a creature, but to honor a bond that had brought two grieving souls back to life. They sat in silence for a while longer, listening to the distant hoot of an owl, the rustle of branches in the gentle wind. Orion shifted, resting his head on Tyler's knee, a quiet sign of trust and contentment. Tyler gently stroked the thick fur behind the wolf's ears. "Tomorrow," Aaron finally said, "we'll take him to the northern ridge. It's deep enough to keep him hidden, but close enough that we can still visit. He'll be safe there, at least until we can convince the council." Tyler nodded. "We should leave before sunrise. Less chance of being followed." That night, they barely slept. Tyler packed supplies carefully: a heavy wool blanket, sealed containers of meat and water, a fresh roll of bandages. He tucked in a photograph of Orion and himself, a moment captured the week before, with the wolf resting at his side while Tyler read aloud. A memory of hope, in case they never got to make more. Aaron loaded the truck in silence. They kept the headlights off as they drove down the narrow trail that cut through the woods. The tires crunched softly over frost-dusted leaves. Orion sat in the back seat, head low but eyes alert. As the sky lightened to pale blue, the truck reached the trailhead. They hiked the final mile on foot, following an overgrown path Tyler remembered from childhood hikes with his mother. At the ridge, the land opened into a secluded glade, ringed with fir trees and shielded from the road by a natural rock barrier. There was a small stream nearby, and deer prints dotted the soft earth. "This is the place," Aaron said. They built a temporary shelter with branches and old canvas, creating a safe space where Orion could sleep and recover. Tyler set down the food and water, checking everything twice. Then he sat cross-legged in front of Orion. "I'll be back tomorrow," he said, his voice firm. "And every day after that. I promise." Orion stepped forward and gently pressed his forehead to Tyler's chest. Aaron watched from a short distance, arms crossed, the weight of pride and sorrow etched into the lines of his face. "We'll protect him, Tyler," he said softly, "whatever it takes." They stood together in the stillness of the glade, morning light slipping through the trees like golden ribbons. The promise hung between them, heavier than words, bound by their shared pain and purpose. Tyler nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. He turned to Orion, who had begun exploring the edge of the clearing, his movements slow but confident. Watching him disappear briefly into the shadows before returning with ears perked and tail gently wagging filled Tyler with cautious hope. Orion was adapting, surviving. Later that day, back at the house, Aaron placed a call to Dr. Keller. "He's safe," he said, "but we need to accelerate the plan. Jed's rallying more people. If something happens, if someone follows us, we may not get another chance." Dr. Keller's voice was calm but direct. "I've already submitted the footage to the regional wildlife office. We're getting attention, good attention. I think we have a shot, but we need more." "What more?" Aaron asked. "Community testimony, public support, people willing to speak on Orion's behalf. If we can show he's not a threat, if we can prove he's helping your son heal, it changes everything." Aaron glanced at Tyler, who had picked up his old sketch pad and was quietly drawing by the fireplace. The sight made Aaron's heart ache in the best way. "Then we'll tell them," he said. "We'll tell everyone." That night, Tyler stood in front of a camera in their living room. Aaron and Dr. Keller had set up a quiet recording space, just him, a lamp, and the notebook that held the first words he'd written after Orion came into his life. "My name is Tyler Bennett," he began, voice steady, "and this is the story of how a wolf saved me." He spoke of the silence after his mother died, the fear that he'd never feel normal again. He described the day Orion appeared, how the wolf didn't just help him speak, but helped him live. As he spoke, Orion lay at his side, calm and watchful. When the video was posted online, it spread far faster than anyone anticipated. Comments poured in from neighboring towns, distant states, even international viewers. People were moved by Tyler's story, by Orion's gentleness, by the reminder that healing could come in the unlikeliest forms. Within a week, news crews arrived. The town council, caught in a wave of publicity, called for an emergency meeting. The town's gymnasium filled beyond capacity. Even those who had once opposed the Bennetts were there, curious, uncertain. Aaron stood at the front, hands clasped behind his back, while Tyler sat with Orion at his feet. A screen projected Tyler's video in silence behind them. Then Tyler rose. He faced the crowd, neighbors, teachers, ranchers, shopkeepers. He met their eyes one by one. "You were afraid," he said. "I was too. But Orion never hurt anyone. He saved someone, me. He gave me back my voice. Please, and don't take him away now. Let him stay. Let us heal together." For a moment, there was only silence. Then slowly, one by one, people began to rise from their seats. Mrs. Ling from the bakery stood and said, "My brother came back from war and wouldn't talk to anyone. He got a dog and it changed everything. I believe Tyler." Mr. Dobbins, the school janitor, added, "That wolf's got more sense than most people I know. He belongs with them." Even Jed Matthews shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his glare less certain now. When the mayor finally stood, he cleared his throat. "I think it's time we reconsidered, not just our ordinance, but our understanding of what it means to be part of a community. That wolf isn't just a wild animal, he's family." The applause was cautious at first, then grew, echoing off the walls of the gymnasium. Tyler looked down at Orion, who lifted his head, ears twitching at the sound. For the first time, Tyler smiled in public, a wide, open smile full of relief. Back at the Glade later that evening, Tyler and Aaron returned with good news and fresh supplies. Orion greeted them with a low, happy bark, circling Tyler before settling into a familiar place by the fire pit they had built days ago. Aaron knelt beside Tyler as he unpacked. "You did it, kiddo," he said. Tyler shook his head. "We did it. All of us." The sun dipped below the horizon as flames rose to meet the night once more. And there, in the clearing where fear once lurked, peace now reigned. They had protected Orion, and in doing so, they had also saved themselves. But healing, like the forest around them, continued to grow in layers. In the weeks that followed, Aaron and Tyler expanded the glade into a sanctuary, not just for Orion, but for other animals in need. With help from Dr. Keller and volunteers inspired by Tyler's story, they built open-air enclosures, a small cabin for supplies, and a visitor's station for school groups who came to learn about empathy, wilderness conservation, and the extraordinary intelligence of wolves. Tyler led weekend tours, standing beside Orion as he told his story, not with fear or trembling, but with calm confidence. Children listened wide-eyed as he explained how Orion responded to gestures, tones, even emotions. Parents nodded silently, often blinking back tears. Aaron watched his son flourish with quiet pride. Each day brought a new sign of growth, a laugh, a joke, a story shared with strangers. The silence that had once defined Tyler was now a distant memory, replaced by warmth, purpose, and community. One afternoon, while helping a young boy gently feed a rescued fox kit, Tyler paused. "I used to think I was broken," he said, "but Orion didn't see that. He just saw someone worth saving." The boy looked up at him. "Like a real-life superhero?" Tyler smiled. "Maybe, but I think we all have the power to save something, or someone." That night, as fireflies blinked in the tall grass and the stars painted the sky silver, Tyler lay beside Orion in the open field, gazing upward. "Thank you," he whispered. Orion nuzzled against his shoulder, eyes half closed, breath slow and even. The forest whispered back around them, leaves rustling like applause, the creek nearby humming its lullaby. In whispering pines, a boy had found his voice, a father had found new purpose, and a wolf had reminded them all that even the wildest hearts can carry the gentlest truths. And under those trees, lit by moonlight and memory, their story continued, not as a chapter closed, but as a legacy just beginning. As fall settled in over Whispering Pines, the sanctuary began drawing visitors from beyond the region. Local newspapers picked up Tyler's story, then regional wildlife magazines. Soon, Tyler found himself standing in front of documentary crews, student groups, and even military veterans, many of whom had endured their own versions of silence. They didn't come for spectacle. They came for understanding, for healing. They came because somehow a boy and a wolf had started a movement. By mid-October, a sign was installed at the entrance to the glade. It read, "The Orion Refuge, where silence finds its voice." The letters were carved into smooth cedar, painted by local children who added paw prints, trees, and stars beside the name. One day, a man in a worn uniform approached Tyler after a tour. He had gray in his beard and deep lines in his face. "I lost my voice too," the man said softly, kneeling beside Orion, who sat still and watchful. "Over there, in the war. Never thought I'd find it again. But this place, this story, it's something else." Tyler nodded. "It's not just mine anymore. Orion helped me find it, but it belongs to all of us now." That night, Tyler added a new page to his journal. It was a habit he'd picked up again. This time he drew Orion, not as he'd first seen him, wounded and wary, but upright, strong, noble. Beneath the sketch he wrote, "He came from the wild, but he showed us how to be human." That winter, snow blanketed the glade, softening the edges of every path and pine. Yet even in the cold, the sanctuary remained warm with purpose. Fires crackled in the gathering cabin. Laughter rang out during weekend storytelling circles. Orion, now completely recovered, often lay by the central fire, letting children rest beside him like a living legend come to life. Tyler, taller now, with a quiet wisdom in his voice, led a holiday event where each visitor shared one thing they were grateful for. When it came to his turn, Tyler said only this: "For second chances, and for the wolf who reminded us all how to begin again." The crowd didn't clap. They stood in silence, respectful, moved. Then one by one, people stepped forward to kneel beside Orion, pressing their palms to the ground beside his paw in quiet tribute. And in the shadows of the trees, Aaron watched, hand on his chest, tears warming the corners of his eyes. His son, once silenced by grief, was now a voice for the voiceless. And the wolf, once hunted, was now the heart of a community. The stars shimmered overhead, the same way they had on that first night Tyler whispered into Orion's fur. And under those same stars, their legacy continued to grow, one heartbeat at a time. But with every legacy comes a moment of testing. It came without warning, a sharp, bitter wind in late March, accompanied by a storm that broke the levee upriver. Whispering Pines faced its worst flood in nearly a century. Roads vanished beneath rushing water, homes were threatened, and the sanctuary, nestled so near the forest's edge, was in the path of destruction. Tyler and Aaron were awakened by the emergency sirens. Dr. Keller called in a panic. "The creek's breached, the glade's already underwater in some places. We need to evacuate the animals. Now." Chaos followed. Volunteers poured in, knee-deep in freezing water, forming human chains to lead animals to higher ground. Orion stood at the edge of the rising floodline, barking sharp commands. It was as though he understood. He nudged frightened fawns forward, circled around limping raccoons, and growled warning at those who froze in fear. Then came the moment that would change everything. A child, 7-year-old Ellie Monroe, slipped from the wooden walkway, swept away by the surge. Screams erupted, but Orion was faster than thought. He plunged into the torrent without hesitation, fur slicked by the rain, paws fighting against the pull of the current. "Orion!" Tyler shouted, scrambling after him, but Aaron held him back. "Let him do what he was born to do." The glade fell silent, save for the roar of the water. Then, through the haze of rain, Orion emerged, dragging Ellie by her jacket collar toward the bank. Volunteers reached in, pulling the girl to safety. Her small chest heaved. She coughed, then cried, and clung to the wolf with shaking arms. Cheers broke out. Tears followed. And though Orion collapsed exhausted, there was a look in his golden eyes. Pride, peace, and something that felt like farewell. He had given everything. Again. Later that evening, the sanctuary was battered but standing. The news spread faster than any storm. Local and national media covered the rescue. Headlines read, "Hero Wolf Saves Child in Tennessee Flood," "The Wild Guardian of Whispering Pines." People sent letters. Donations surged. The governor issued a statement of commendation. And Orion's story, already powerful, became legend. But for Tyler, the moment wasn't about headlines. It was about a promise. That night, he curled beside Orion near the fireplace, blanket draped over both of them. "You saved her," he whispered, "like you saved me. You never stopped being the guardian." Orion pressed his nose to Tyler's chest, and as the rain gave way to starlight, the sanctuary stood quiet, stronger than before, reborn through courage. Their legacy had reached its crescendo, not just a wolf, not just a boy, but a testament to healing, to belonging, to love that howls louder than fear. And through it all, the heartbeat never stopped. Not once, not ever. Spring returned to Whispering Pines with more than blossoms and birdsong. It brought renewal. The flood had tested their bond, but it hadn't broken it. If anything, it made it stronger. Orion, now older, walked more slowly, his muzzle grayed at the edges, his limbs stiff in the morning chill. But his spirit never waned. He still stood by the gate each day when the children arrived. Still joined Tyler on quiet walks beneath the trees. Still curled beside the fire each night, his heartbeat a constant echo of everything they'd overcome. And when the time finally came, peaceful, gentle, under a soft spring moon, Orion lay with Tyler by his side. No sirens, no storms, just stillness, just love. Tyler whispered his final promise. "You will always be the guardian, and I will carry it from here." A week later, the town held a candlelight vigil in the glade. Hundreds came, some who had met Orion, others who had only known his legend. They placed flowers, lit lanterns, and shared stories beneath the pine canopy. Aaron unveiled a carved stone at the center of the sanctuary. In memory of Orion, the guardian of Whispering Pines, he taught us to listen. He taught us to lead. He never let go. Years passed. The glade grew greener. Children who had once knelt beside the great wolf returned with children of their own. And at the edge of the forest, a new pup arrived, a young gray with eyes like amber fire, rescued from a storm and named Echo. Tyler, now a man, watched as Echo settled into the place Orion once claimed. He smiled, hand resting on a carved wooden cane Aaron had made long ago. The story was not over, because in Whispering Pines, legacies don't end. They live, they lead, and they howl on the wind. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories of healing, courage, and the unbreakable bonds between people and animals.